high-tech engines need high-tech oils.
Last time our Team Brave put on a show for the Townsville fans, it was an all-Brave final with Ben proving too good for his mentor and took home top honours.
You can see the RPM light just flashing in Ben's face there. Fantastic shots. And it's over. Ben Brave will take the win. He's got the flames out at the finish line as well. Low ET of the weekend of 4:23 at 268 kilometres an hour.
Ben has also been the most consistent throughout the series and leads the points ladder into the penultimate round here at Benaraby Raceway in Gladstone. The unpredictability of a regional racetrack mixed with the unknown makes for a thrilling finish to the 2012 Slamfest Championship. Drag racing has been dominated by the male species since inception. However, we are seeing more women getting involved in the sport and making an impact.
Well, the love of 57 Chevys was basically what I loved. And then an old boyfriend got me into going to the drags at Willowbank, and I fell in love with, really bad to say, but Victor Brayner's burnouts. So from then on, a friend of mine knew I loved the drags and knew someone that was actually going to start racing, which was Peter Gratz. And he needed someone on his crew, and yeah, it's history.
I've been involved with drag racing since the 70s, and I started working at Surfers Paradise International Raceway in 1980, and that's where I met Gary. So we've been together a lot of years.
Everybody thinks that I sort of knew about drag racing before I met Morris. I didn't. We didn't meet at a drag strip. We met at a pub in Melbourne, which no longer exists, watching some of our favourite 80s bands, cover bands. And yeah, he wasn't involved in the sport at the time, but he got an offer to come up and crew for Graham Cow and was putting together a Top Fuel team.
For a start, I'm stuck with Frank Mamone as a partner, which is a good thing actually. He's very passionate about his car racing, so I guess it's become a family affair. The whole family comes along and we support him.
The ladies play several different roles within their teams, some more hands-on than others.
The main duties is helping Wayne pull the car apart, taking off the covers and making sure that all the pipes are tight, the wheels are torque wrenched, and also the chutes are done as well. Just helping out generally with everybody that needs somebody to help out, second hand basically. So yeah, I love it. I hate standing around watching. I have to be involved. I don't mind getting dirty. The dirty the better, you could say. So yeah.
For medical reasons, I had a severe angina attack over in Perth in November last year, so I'm under medical advice to step back a bit, so I've had to. But Shane stepped up to the plate about 8 years ago, so yeah, he has for both Gary and I, that he's taken over a lot of the physical side of things.
It's a learning experience for me, I could go and help the crew chief on the rockers or go and help Al with the tune-up, but mostly I'm at the merchandise store with my mum, just selling the t-shirts, it pays for my school fees.
My duties are to make sure that Pete's gear is in the tow car, ready to go. I help Narelle with the parachutes to pack them back into the packs. Tighten up the wheel nuts on the rear tyres to make sure they don't fall off. I cook and clean. I do most of the cooking and the cleaning and feed the guys. That's mostly what my jobs are.
As we're all well aware, drag racing can be dangerous, and it's not just the drivers that get nervous.
I've got to say that after an incident, the first event following an incident is usually the worst. I have become, I don't panic as much now as I used to. The very first time when Morris hit the wall way back, I can't remember when it was, about 7-8 years ago at Willowbank, I think I went into panic mode and I think I ran the whole way down the track. Now I don't panic as much. I know he's safe. The only one that kind of scares me is if there's fire involved, where we had an incident at Sydney a couple of years ago.
I never have, and people have asked me that before, and I really trust him. He's got very good skills as a driver. He's a really quick thinker, and I absolutely trust his driving 110%. Absolutely. When he's in race mode, he's in race mode. You know, he's really on the ball. He's a very good driver.
If the girls were in charge of the race team, a few things might be done differently.
No, I think we work really, really well as a team as it is now. If we tried to change anything, I don't think it'll work as well. We do. We work really well together, a lot of us.
Thank you. Probably not. I'd say no, because I don't have the competitive edge that Morris does. That's why I'm sort of in the background and I'm not at somewhere like the Olympics, because I really think, oh, well, I tried my best, it's all I could do. Whereas I think you really need to have that competitive edge to push yourself, to push those around you, to go out and do those numbers and push the envelope, because that's what drag racing is about. So no, I don't think I'd do anything different.
There are a lot of things to like about drag racing and the Slamfest series in particular.
I love it. I love the atmosphere, the people, the fans they're so grateful that we come. They love getting up and close, with the car. One day when I'm old enough, I'll start racing, because obviously my dad's brought it into my life. I just love it. I love it.
Pretty much everything. We're such a big crew when it comes to the Doorslammers, and we are like a big family. Since I've been with racing for a very long time, you just want to say hey to everyone and see what they're up to, and it's just a relaxing atmosphere and it's fun yeah.
I actually like the whole gamut of it, the whole family orientation, not just for Slamfest but for our normal competition as well. Being here, being in the atmosphere, it's really great. I enjoy it.
I think we're having more fun doing the Slamfest now, because it's taking us back to the old days of racing. The new people of today racing wouldn't understand that, but we used to have more fun. It was a one-day race. You come in, get it over and done with, and you go back out. But today's racing being 2 or 3, 4-day racing, and it wears you, especially as you're getting older, it really takes it out of you. But those one day in and out, it's fun.
Welcome along to Benaraby Raceway for round 6 of Slamfest. Of course, big crowds. We have seen massive lineups out waiting to get into this beautiful regional racetrack. Of course, a winter wonderland of sorts. Let's have a look at the points. Ben Bray, 365, leads John Zapier by 10 points. Peter Kapiris on 345, Gary Phillips on 320, Victor Bray, Russell Pavey, Morris Fabietti and Frank Mamone round out the top 8. Joining me in commentary here for round 6 is Rusty Gregory. Rusty, welcome along. Here we go with qualifying.
Fantastic to be here. Beautiful weather, beautiful cars, beautiful countryside. What more could you ask for in the Slamfest series?
Well, the guys up at Benaraby have been working very, very hard to get this racetrack up to Slamfest standards. And in qualifying session number 1, we see Victor Bray, of course, straight off a finals berth up in Townsville, taking on Russell McKay from Rockhampton.
Yeah, well, it's the first time we've seen the 63 Corvette of Russell McKay in the Slamfest series, and it's great to see him running a little bit of a different combination to what we usually see in Slamfest. Of course, running the Sainty power plant in that car. And of course, Victor Bray, what more can we say about him? This guy is a 6-time national champion in the top Doorslammer class. He knows how to get down regional tracks, and he absolutely loves coming here to Benaraby.
One of the stalwarts of top Doorslammer racing, and prior to that, the Wild Bunch days. Yeah, you're right, he does love getting up to Benaraby. I believe he used to run his 57 Chev some 25 years ago. Here he is, of course, back now with the Sid Chrome 57 Chev, and he is looking to impress the crowds. Of course, Russell McKay running for Fuchs and All Hours Glass. He's a supercharged outlaw racer that's decided to step up to the top Doorslammer ranks for Slamfest this weekend.
As they bump into stage, you can hear Victor Bray bringing the revs up. They've been trying new things on this car. Let's see if it works for them. Well, that car on a beautiful run straight down the centre of the groove, and a 4:05 with a 6 off the trailer, 296 kilometres per hour. That is a great run for Victor Bray.
Well, we see Mackay there, a bit of a supercharger backfire. It was all over for him, but Victor Bray posting a 4:05. We go to the onboard shot of Russell Mackay as we can see he bangs the blower and the Maggie leads all flapping in the breeze. So no qualifier for Russell Mackay. But as we've mentioned, Victor Bray straight down the middle, and he will provisionally sit in number 1.
Well, it really sets the bar for the rest of the Doorslammer teams. They would have been sitting back in the staging lanes having a good look at that run from Victor, and no one more so than Ben Bray, Victor's son. He's out there now in the Sid Chrome 440 Monaro, and he loves coming up to this racetrack. I tell you what, he raced here in his junior dragster days many, many years ago, and now he's back here in the Doorslammer.
Well, of course, Ben Bray, fresh off that win at the last round in Townsville, he is going to want to try and replicate that, try and get back into the winner's circle this weekend. Maurice Fabietti, of course, he is the man that, well, did all the right things but all the wrong things down in Tasmania at round 3, and found himself with a bit of a repair bill for that Holden Genuine Parts Monaro.
Yeah, and thankfully he's got a good team around him with that Monaro, and of course Murray Anderson, the guy who builds these cars for Morris. And thankfully he wasn't down for too long, and he's back on track, and I've got to say I really like the new paintwork on this car as well, with the gold line on the side. Looks fantastic in the Queensland sun.
Well, here's one for the Holden fans, Monaro versus Monaro. And Ben Bray, of course, as I mentioned, fresh off that win. He, as you said a little earlier, both Victor Bray and Ben Bray have been trialling some new things, some new combinations. We saw it work for Victor Bray. Can it work for Ben Bray?
Well, a fantastic run for Ben. He takes Victor's 4:05 and lowers him a 4:02 at 294 kilometres per hour. The team are pumped with that one.
They certainly are. As we go to the replay, we see Ben Bray getting the whole shot. 0.65 reaction to a 0.3 from Maurice Fabietti. Now, I've got some interesting news there. The difference, the margin of victory, 12 1/1000ths of a second. That is the closest pairing, Rusty, we have seen in the whole Slamfest series for 2012.
Great side-by-side racing there, and you can see Maurice Fabietti hitting the chutes nice and hard, trying a few new things in that car as well this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that later on as we see, well, the man who I think we're going to call him Mr. Consistent, Gary Phillips. He's coming out for his run in the qualifying session here. He is going to take on Frank Mamone.
So Frank Mamone right of screen, taking on Gary Phillips in the Lucas Oil Studebaker left of screen. And I tell you what, we have seen already 2 pairs. We have got 2 more to go, remembering that there is 1 qualifier. That's it, just the 1 qualifier for each of these drivers to get themselves into the first round.
And that's part of the challenge with the Slamfest series. It's not just as straightforward as going out and, you know, if you muck up on your qualifying cast and you get another 2 shots at it, that's not how it works in Slamfest. You get 1 go at it, and then we go straight into racing. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure on these guys and these crews for a racetrack that some of them have never even seen before.
Absolutely. Frank Mamone there starting to get a handle on the Slamfest style of racing. Of course, we see him in the pro street ranks running on the quarter-mile circuits, but now he is really starting to come of age, getting quicker and faster each pass he puts down with this Nova. As you said, Mr. Consistency in the other lane. Of course, Gary Phillips, he is a man that you should never underestimate. Here we go.
Well, I tell you what, that car is driving like a Cadillac for Gary Phillips. A 4.12, 301 kilometres per hour, cracks the 300 kilometre hour barrier. And Frank Mamone, another good run for him, a 4.58 at 182 miles per hour. And without a doubt, this is one of the best qualifying sessions we have seen from the Slamfest guys all season long.
It certainly has been. We've seen from 4 cars, 3 4.0 times. And these guys are really playing for keeps this weekend. We go to another angle on the replay. We see Frank Mamone red lighting away. That's not important. What's important is getting a time down. He goes 4.58, 4.12 for Gary Phillips.
Next pair of cars out, and it will be the final pair for this session. It's going to be Peter Kapiris, the man in the Chrysler Saratoga, doing a little bit of an imitation of disco out there at the end of the burnout. He will be taking on Russell Pavey in the 63 Corvette.
Well, we know that Peter Kapiris has been getting quicker and faster on this Slamfest series and starting to press some very, very quick times. Will we see Kapiris into the 3-second region, remembering that we've only seen one competitor so far be able to achieve that series, and that is John Zapier, who isn't with us this weekend.
Well, that is the benchmark, isn't it? The 390 range, that's the benchmark. That's what all these guys are shooting for. Very, very late on the burnout from Russell Pavey there. I think he may have had a few problems firing up. Let's hope it doesn't affect his run, because as we've touched on, you only get one shot in qualifying. That's what it comes down to. And Peter Kapiris, a guy who is very, very competitive in this series. He's always at the top of the timesheets as well as the top of the points. This is going to be a good one.
This is going to be a great one. Russell Pavey, another driver that has been literally getting the car from point A to point B in unbelievable times. I think taking part in this series this year has been a huge learning curve for Russ Pavey, and he's been doing a great job, of course, going to the final and winning one of the earlier rounds.
Absolutely. We'll hear them bring the revs up as they bump these cars into stage. Let's just listen to these engines.
A lot of fuel out of Peter Kapiris' car, but it's still good for a 4.041 at 313 kilometres per hour. That is the fastest speed we have seen. 194 miles per hour or 313 kilometres.
And to be honest, that fuel line that looks like it came off the top of the injector hat for Peter Kapiris there, I think that may have helped him. It may have leaned out the motor a little bit, just giving him a little bit more power on the top end of the racetrack. Russell Pavey, no problems to him, a 429, but just not quite enough to keep up with Peter Kapiris in this qualifying session.
Well, Rusty, at previous rounds, we would have seen that 4.2 put him right towards the top. Qualifying results, Ben Bray with a 4.02 to be number 1. Morris Fabietti is number 2 qualifier with a 4.032. Peter Kapiris with a 4.041. Victor Bray, Gary Phillips, Russell Pavey, Brent Mamone and Russell Mackay.
Well, Ben, you're on a bit of a roll at the moment. You've won the last event. You're coming in as the number 1 qualifier with that beautiful 4.02. What's your plans for eliminations?
Eliminations are always different. You don't put it all on the line, but a 4.02, got a little bit more in the tank. It's probably got a 396 or a 397 in it. I don't know if I'm game enough to do it straight up. I like to make some rounds. I like to be consistent. The cars are running good, like Dad, straight off the trailer, and he's just running the numbers. So I stole a bit of data out of his and seen where I could improve mine after the first. We went out and did a test session. The car only went a 420 with the pedal. Didn't quite have enough clutch in it in low gear, a little bit more RPM on the start line, and there's the result. Went 4.02, about 185 mile an hour. So it was car felt pretty stable, track feels pretty good. So.
Well, qualifying is run and done here at round 6 of Slamfest at Benaraby. We'll be back with round 1 right after this break. Since debuting his 1955 Morris Minor back in 2004 with regular 6-second runs, Russell Pavey always wanted to go faster.
Yeah, we wanted to raise the stakes and to join the top Doorslammer tour. And we looked around about what was possible in terms of fielding a car. Both of our options were fairly long time-wise and reasonably expensive, and the idea of putting a car together ourselves with a bunch of friends was pretty appealing. So we ordered the parts and made it happen. We built a jig. We spent around 6 months putting stuff together. Had the help of some great friends, and yeah, we learned a lot about building cars and all sorts of things along the way.
Behind every race team is a dedicated crew, and Pavey's team is no different.
At the end of the day, I'm only one guy. Being inside the car means that I can't do half the things. I'm very lucky in as much as I've got a great group of friends around me. Ken Lowe, Jeff Stone, Pete and Robbo. You know, they're all key parts of how it happens, and those guys give up, you know, a minimum of 2 nights and one day on the weekend every week, 52 weeks of the year, all so that we can go racing.
I started drag racing back in 1989. I was in a car with another top Doorslammer racer, Marcus Chambers, and we partnered up for about 14 years, and then wife, kids, families, all that, put an end to everything, and then Russell actually crewed for us for a while, and then we started just Russell rang me and then got, wanted to know if I'd come crew for him for a while, and so yeah.
Oh, I got dragged into it a little bit. A mate asked me, if I was interested in getting back into racing. I said, yeah. So Rusty put me through a bit of an interview process, passed the course, so to speak, and I've been with the team for the last 14 months. It's been a real big, steep learning curve, I tell you. Yeah.
Well, like most people in the sport, it's sort of been one of my passions for most of my life, and I'd been trying to get into the game, doing chassis work and stuff for a lot of years, and I came across Ken Lowe, and in doing that, I've come aboard Russell Pavy's 63 Doorslammer, crewing on that and doing the clutch.
I mainly look after the engine, do the lash, and yeah, that's about it really.
At the race meeting, doing the lash, assist Jeff, doing the cylinder heads, check the lash, valve train, that type of thing, refueling, all the safety equipment, making sure we can strap Rusty in, air bottles for gear shifting, or help assist Pete with the clutch, all that type of thing. Yeah, so there's a lot to do in a very, very short period of time.
When we're not at the racetrack, if there's any modifications to the bodies or wings or chassis, anything like that, I'm the guy for the job.
We know Russell can steer, but what's he like as a boss?
Oh, can I say? He's actually pretty good. Patient with us, teaches us new things because we're not all perfect. If we're working on areas that we've never worked on before, because we've all got to cross-train on the car, and that he's patient, teaches us, we go over and over and over stuff again, because we've really only got an hour and a half to turn the car around. What a normal mechanic will do in a day, maybe 2 days, we're doing an hour and a half, and that, so we've all got to learn. So yeah, Rusty's good to work for, and that keeps us in the beer when we need to as well.
Oh, it's terrible. He's a great bloke. He's a great bloke. Him and Ken have been, really, really good and taken me under their wing, and there's not a day we go out that I don't learn something from each of them.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's pretty cruisy. I get to fly all over the countryside because I come from Victoria, so it's not too bad.
I love it to bits. I wouldn't be here if I didn't love it, and stand on the line when two of them hit the throttle and go down and watch Rusty get the green light, that's awesome. It's just awesome, yeah.
They deserve so much more than just a thank you, it's not possible to do it without them.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, thousands of people coming in, and I believe Benaraby Raceway filled to capacity with nearly 5,000 in the house. So great turnout here at this regional track for Slamfest Round 6. Let's take a look at the Round 1 ladder. Gary Phillips will take on Victor Bray. Maurice Fabietti will take on Frank Mamone. Russell Pavey takes on Peter Kapiris. And Russell Mackay takes on Ben Bray.
As our first pair roll out of the water box, it will be Victor Bray and Gary Phillips. Nice big smoky burnout. Victor Bray putting on a show for all the fans up here at Benaraby. And looking at it, Gary Phillips, a nice, quiet, reserved burnout, if there is such a thing. As always, nice and consistent, and that's what Gary Phillips is after.
Well, these two will match up. Of course, Victor Bray going 4:05 in qualifying, and Gary Phillips going 4.12. So we are set for a battle of the titans between these two heavyweights. Of course, both gentlemen have been around the sport of drag racing. Both gentlemen are in fact professional drag racers by trade.
And looking at it, there's actually 7 top Doorslammer championships sitting on the line. And what is it now? 15 top alcohol championships for Gary Phillips. So if you're going to choose 2 more experienced guys, I don't think you'd be able to find them in Australian drag racing. These 2 guys have done everything.
Graham Frawley just spraying a little bit of fuel down through the injector hat, making sure that those butterflies don't ice up. We can see here it is winter, and we can see the injector hat just starting to ice up. So things are looking very, very cool. So set to go, of course, Gary Phillips in the blue Studebaker and Victor Bray in the Sid Chrome 57 Chevy.
I Identical reaction times, but from there it was all Victor Bray. 4:01 with a 1 new low ET at 304 kilometres per hour. Gary Phillips, unfortunately, just gets a little bit out of the groove and over towards the centre line. This will be a good shot here. Way out of shape, way out of the groove, and that was all she wrote. Victor Bray runs away for the win.
Wow, talking about running away, that's exactly what that shot showed then. Victor just accelerated away once Gary had got off the throttle, and a 4:01. He is edging towards the elusive 3-second time range for Team Bray. Checking out a bit of the action down in the pit, of course, Russell Pavey. We see the crew guys just going through their duties, removing spark plugs, take the heads off. Of course, the supercharger comes off. We now move to the second pairing here in round 1, Morris Fabietti and Frank Mamone.
This will be another great race. Of course, Morris Fabietti qualified in the number 2 position with a 4:03. He was only a couple of ticks behind Ben Bray. And Frank Mamone, one of his best runs of the year, with a 4:58. So, on paper, this is going to be all Morris Fabietti, but after seeing what happened to Gary Phillips in the last race, I'm not willing to put any money on it yet.
Well, Morris Fabietti going 4:03 in qualifying, and Mamone, as you mentioned, that 4:58 is certainly towards one of his better Slamfest times. And the crew just having a look under the back of the car there. Of course, the big difference between Frank Mamone's Nova and this particular Holden Trade Club Monaro of Fabietti's is the back wheel size. It's just 10.5 inches.
Yeah, that's right. Morris Fabietti usually running a much, much larger tyre. And Frank Mamone running the automatic transmission. Morris Fabietti used to run an automatic transmission in this car, but he's since gone back to the clutch setup. He feels like he's got a little bit more room to move with it, a little bit more adjustability in the racetrack. So we'll see how it goes. It seems to be working for him. He comes in as the number 2 qualifier.
Both cars into stage. Let's run with them.
Well, hideous amounts of tyre shake for Frank Mamone. Unfortunately, a 6:45. Morris Fabietti, a 4:38 off his qualifying pace. He'll probably be a little bit disappointed with that, I would suggest.
Well, we see that tyre shake that you spoke of. I think Morris Fabietti also experienced a fair amount of chatter. Let's take a look. But he drove through it. That was the difference. Drove through it and ran on through for that 4:38.
Yeah, you can see Frank Mamone really trying to get that thing to the finish line in front of Morris Fabietti, but it was not going to happen this time around. And you can see how violent that tyre shake is on board with Morris Fabietti. It's just absolute. It's like putting your head in a paint mixer. That's the only equivalent to tyre shake. It's the easiest way to describe it. And I've heard drivers use a lot more different adjectives when describing tyre shake, that's for sure.
Well, drivers have been known to be knocked out. Not so much in the suspension cars, but other drag racing vehicles that have got the full solid suspension, they have been knocked out during vicious tyre shake. On board with Russell Pavey in the United Tools 63 split window Corvette, of course, from the Gold Coast here in Queensland. Of course, one of the, I'm not going to say local guys, because he's about 9.5 hours from home.
Yeah, he loves coming up to these regional tracks, though, Russell. It feels like it gives him a bit of a shot when it comes to trying to beat the big guys. We saw it earlier on in the season. He went to a final round. A little bit of a giant-killing performance, but we know that Russell, he puts his heart and his soul into this operation. But when you look over and you see the kind of spare parts that he's got in the shed, he doesn't have as much stuff as, say, your Peter Kapirises or your Victor Brays and Ben Brays. It just comes down to a dollar question more than anything else. But I tell you what, he makes what he's got work well, and he's never one to be discounted.
No, absolutely not. Russell Pavey will always give it everything he's got. Of course, new sponsor on board, Professional Pump Services and Irrigation, helping support the racing endeavours of course, Russ Pavey. 069, great reaction for Pavey, but look at Kapiris come home. 4042, 306 for the Saratoga against the 421 from the 63 Corvette of Pavey's.
Wow, that was a great race, all courtesy of Russell Pavey's pole shot. He went 069 on the tree. Peter Kapiris gave up a 10.5 of a second on the start line, and it almost cost him in this race. You can see side by side all the way to the finish line. And Peter Kapiris, that was a bit of a get out of jail for him.
Yeah, absolutely. He really did just take that right on the finish line. We have a look side by side, door handle to door handle. And Russell Pavey probably a little unhappy that he didn't get what he was chasing.
Well, he gave it his best shot, that's for sure. I don't think he could ask for too much more, as we see the crews making the last-minute alterations to the bell housing and the clutch department. Some people say the most important part of tuning these cars. And I'm sure we'll see plenty of clutch adjustments as the sun starts to go down here at Benaraby. All right, we're going to have Russell Mackay now up against Ben Bray in the Sid Chrome Monaro. Another good matchup.
Great matchup. We saw Benny Bray go 4.02 in qualifying. And of course, Russell Mackay had problems. Now, Mackay is a relative local to Benaraby. He's based out of the Capricorn, Rockhampton area. So he's only about 2 hours away from this racetrack, but he just hasn't been able to put his finger on the pulse as yet.
Now, Russell Mackay's got a few problems here. I just noticed at the end of the burnout, he banged the blower, and have a look at the fire on board with Russell Mackay. That is never a good sign. Fortunately, it looks like maybe just a little bit of fuel has caught the supercharger containment bag on fire there, so I don't think it's anything too serious, but that is going to rule him out of this race. Now, the question is, if Russell Mackay stops on the racetrack, Ben Bray will not be able to make his first round pass here.
So Benny Bray sitting patiently waiting to see if Mackay can remove that car, and very unfortunate. 2 runs. He's had the blower bang now. He's been given the, well, I thought it was the shut-off signal.
No, I think Ray Treasure, our meeting director for Slamfest, was just indicating him to stage, accept the green light, and shut the car off. Obviously, with that car, Russell Mackay's stranded in the braking area. It is a safety issue, and I'm sure that they will give Ben the option to take the car back and refire it once they get the track cleared. Whether he takes that option or not is completely up to Ben. But that looks like the situation that we've got here at the moment.
Well, of course, the rule in drag racing is if you accept the green under your own power, then, of course, that is deemed as the winner of the race. We see Russell Mackay just trying to put out those flames. Benny now getting out of the car as well. And quick wave to the crowds. Of course, they come in, and he certainly is one of the crowd favourites, Benny Bray.
Yeah, and Ben will understand exactly what's happening here. He'll probably be a little bit disappointed with it, but, you know, that's drag racing. This is the way it goes sometimes. The most important implication for this is that he's not going to get a run in the first round, and he loses lane choice automatically.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem is he's got data from earlier on this morning where he ran the 4.02, but now that we're a little later in the day, he's not getting that necessary data to get the car down the track.
Yes, we can see exactly what happened. Lifted the supercharger. What happens there is the manifold pressure builds up too much in the top of the engine, and just lifts the supercharger clean off its studs.
Round 1 results: Victor Bray 4.01, Peter Kapiris 4.04, Russell Pavey 4.21, then Morris Fabietti, Gary Phillips, Frank Mamone, Ben Bray, and Russell Mackay. So we see the ladder. Morris Fabietti will be taking on Peter Kapiris, and Victor Bray will take on his son Ben Bray.
Russell, you strapped a big hole shot on Peter Kapiris in the first round. Again, you almost got there, but just not quite enough this time.
300ths of a second, the wrong side of the ledger this time. It's not the end of the world. As you know, the other weekend in Townsville, I took a hole shot, went off Pete, so that's 1 each for both of us now.
Well, Russell, your first time running the Slamfest series here this weekend, not the way you would have wanted to start it.
No, mate, look, the reality is we've had to step the car up a little bit for these boys. We're on the money, but we're just not quite there. We really need some more track time before we actually are able to be competitive. But at the end of the day, we're just here to make the numbers and have some fun.
With round 1 of racing now completed, we've got some monster matchups coming up in the semi-finals. Of course, it is an all 4.0 affair. There is no doubt that the fans applaud a good long burnout, but is there more to this exercise than just pleasing the crowd?
Oh mate, when it comes to the burnout, it's all me, bro. Mark would tell me, don't do a big one, don't do a small one. When it feels good, I just keep going, it's probably my one thing I really enjoy is just lighting the tyres up and just going as far as I can.
Well, it depends on how the track is, more or less. If the crew go out there and they say, look, it's pretty sticky, well then it comes down to a bit more or less of a burnout, or it just depends how I feel. If the crowd's out there, we'll put on a bit of a show, put a bit of a smoke up for them, you know.
Oh, look, it's putting on a show for the fans, but you've got to get the car to operating temperature. So with these things, you put them in top gear before you start them, because you want to spin the tyres as hard and fast as you can.
There's more than just the tyres involved in a burnout. You see a lot of guys will pull up there, roll through the water, stop, and then drop the clutch. And other guys will roll through in top gear, rev it up, pedal the clutch, and then flatten it. But what that does, that makes the clutch slip a little bit more than normal and heats it up. So the guys that don't want their clutch hot, even though it's just a burnout, they'll pull up, stop, rev it up, and drop the clutch.
When staging the car, there are a few things a driver needs to consider.
Yeah, you've got to make sure that you're in the right place. You don't go in too deep, you don't go too shallow, you got the RPM right. You've got to see what your opponent's doing, because you might be ready to go, but he's not even in pre-stage yet.
Well, first thing, the guy on the other lane, you've got to focus on what he's actually doing as far as the lights go. Doesn't matter how fast he's going to go, or who it is, or what he's going to do. That's irrelevant. But you do need to know where he is, because you don't want to be, double bulbed or go in hard or do something wrong or be unsportsmanlike, So you need to know where he's at and what he's actually doing.
Mate, I'm never ever worried about the guy on the other lane. I just try to get my revs where, that side of it, obviously Mark tells me what to do. I just concentrate on my RPM and, obviously try not to, hold the other guy up. But the main thing is, just, going in and feeling comfortable and, try to get a good reaction time.
Reaction time is such an integral part of drag racing and can mean all the difference between winning or losing.
Oh no, you've got to be right on that tree. I mean, if you need a good light, you need to be concentrating on that tree. You better be left. If you see that amber, if you see the green, forget it, you lost the race. That's 4/10 down the track. So just say someone like Zappy goes a 5.80, and he gets say a 0.4 light or something like that, and you go a 6.20 or 6.10, you're probably going to beat him. That's it. That's the difference. The car performance is incredible, but the difference that a reaction time makes is just unbelievable.
Every time I'm in that car, mate, I try to pull a good light, whether it's testing, whether it's... because as a driver, I mean, mate, so many races, well, like last in Townsville, I lost it on a hole shot. I've probably lost 4 or 5 races on a hole shot, and that just... when I've been beaten on a hole shot, mate, I burn for weeks. It just...
Keeping the car straight is vital to a strong, safe run.
When you've got a 17-inch wide tyre driving it and a 4-inch wide tyre steering it, she goes where she wants to go. So you better hope you got your timing set up right and your clutch to get this thing down the centre of the track.
In them sort of situations, what you try to do is, it's a hard one. It's a hard one because when the wheels are up in the air, you've got no steering whatsoever. So if the boys, more or less, if they put me in the straight, like when I'm going into stage, if they put me in straight, and I can feel that the car's going straight, well, I'll just hold the thing pinned and off I go then, I'm just in it for the ride.
Mate, keeping it in the groove, it's all about keeping it in the groove. You step out of the groove, that's when it gets dangerous. Every track's got a groove. I can tell you, like in a whole year's racing, there might be 3 occasions that, you can use the whole track, but 99% of the time, mate, anyone who gets out of the groove, it's very hard to get back in the groove,
I tell people all the time, right, they say, what do these cars like to drive? I say they're great as long as they're going straight down the racetrack that way, which, Doorslammers don't all the time. So because of the nature of the Doorslammer, heaps of horsepower, suspension front and rear, and you're sitting off to one side, the balance isn't quite there. So, you need your suspension set up, your clutch set up. But yeah, once you're in the groove, once you've got the car, running well, sitting in that groove, it's pretty easy to keep it there.
There are certain things that need to fall into place for a great pass.
When the car keeps pulling, and the shift light comes on and you hit that shift light, and the shift light comes on again and you hit it, and then you hit the chutes, it's usually a good pass. Very rarely, I've got out of the car and I haven't known that I've run a 580, in a quarter mile obviously, and I haven't run, I know when I've run a 580.
Pretty much as soon as you shift into second gear. Things can still go wrong in top gear, don't get me wrong, engine-wise or track-wise, but I mean, the critical part is the transition from high RPM slip and clutch to a locked-up clutch in low gear. That's the transition part of the run that's extremely dangerous as far as tyre shake goes. Anyone that's perfected that is going quick and doing it consistently. So I think that's sort of what you've got to aim at, is get that part right. And if you get into top second gear, things are looking pretty good for yourself. You start to feel good, put it into top gear, and as long as nothing goes wrong, that's the fun part of the run.
Well, with the sun setting, we now get ready to get into the semi-finals under lights here at Benaraby Raceway. Rusty, as we've mentioned a couple of times already, people from front to back, left to right, they are everywhere in their droves this weekend.
Yeah, they came from miles away, but let's have a look at the ladder. It is Morris Fabietti taking on Peter Kapiris in semi-final number 1. Then the big one, Victor Bray and Ben Bray, father and son, Chevy versus Holden Monaro. What more can you ask for? We'll get to that one in a little while. We've got Peter Kapiris in his Chrysler Saratoga taking on Morris Fabietti in the Holden Trade Club Monaro.
Well, Fabietti went 4.38 seconds in round 1. We checked for Peter Kapiris, 4.04. So based on their previous round history, Kapiris is the quicker of the two. Although this Holden Trade Club Monaro of Fabietti's, you can never discount. He is always one of those guys that will just jump up and bite you if you make a mistake.
Well, absolutely. And we saw in the first round, Morris having a little bit of tyre shake problems. He's over in the same lane as what he was in the first round. So he's got lots of data on the racetrack, and he'll be looking to better his qualifying and first round times.
Well, Peter Kapiris, we look at the miles per hour as well, or the kilometres are in fact 313, the fastest we've seen at a Slamfest from him in round 1 or qualifying, and then in round 1 he went 306. So that means that he's really got the top end of this 8-mile strip absolutely sorted.
And looking at it, he's consistent as well. He went 4.04 with a 1 in the qualifying round. He went 4.04 with a 2 in the first round of racing. You cannot get much more consistent than that. In fact, I think there's probably some super sedan cars out there that are a little bit envious of Peter at the moment. But this is going to be a great matchup. It's not about consistency now, it's about who gets to the finish line first. I've got a feeling this one's going to be one on the start line.
Well, we see that the Holden Trade Club Monaro is ready to rumble. Of course, the Chrysler Saratoga of Peter Kapiris up from Victoria this weekend also ready to get on with the job at hand. Who will win the first pairing here in the semi-final? Waiting, in fact, on...
Well, another good run for Peter Kapiris, 4.20. Not as quick as we have seen. He's gone away from that 4.04 second zone. And Morris Fabietti, I'm not sure what happened, but there was a bunch of sparks out from underneath the car. I would say probably coming from the clutch department, looking at the amount of clutch dust coming from out the back. But Peter Kapiris was well on his way to a win by the time that Morris decided to button off the throttle.
For a semi-finals berth for both Fabietti and Kapiris, their worst performances of the entire day so far. Well, coming up very, very soon, we will see Team Bray. And of course, taking on one of Team Bray will be Peter Kapiris. He's going to the final.
Well, we've got our first finalist. Now we need to know who is going to be our other semi-finalist. Is it going to be Victor Bray, or is it going to be this man, Ben Bray? Well, Ben Bray, not the smoothest run through to the semi-finals. He did not get to make a pass in the first round of racing due to Russell Pavey having an unfortunate incident in the burnout. The car was stopped on the racetrack. It was a safety issue, and as a result, Ben Bray did not get to make his run down in the first round of racing.
I'm really looking forward to seeing this. I mean, Victor Bray goes 4.05 in qualifying. Then in round 1, he went 4.01. Of course, Benny Bray, no slouch, 4.02 in qualifying. And then we saw Benny Bray, of course, with that no time due to the issue with Russell Mackay. So, Bray v Bray. They would have liked to have met in the final like they did at the last round, round 5 of Slamfest up in Townsville. However, it is not to be. They're meeting here in the semi-final. And as I just mentioned a moment ago, one of the Team Bray drivers will be taking on Peter Kapiris.
And I've got to ask the question. We saw them in the final round last time around. We're going to see another one in the final round here. Are we seeing the emergence of a new Bray dynasty? You know, Victor Bray was virtually unbeatable in the early stages of the top Doorslammer class, and as far as Ben Bray goes, he won 2 national championships before he was even 25 in top Doorslammer. So, you know, the history is there. They've gone away from a little bit. They've spent a few years in the wilderness, but it is great to see them back on track now, especially with the Sid Chrome support.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to say they are definitely back on track to have them both feature in the final. And now, of course, meeting in the semis here for this round, you would say that they are certainly well and truly on their way to getting back to that former glory that we've seen them in. So 440 Pro Series, of course, one of the great range of tools from Sid Chrome. So both of the Team Bray coming in, both of the crew chiefs, of course, Anthony Vloedsman and Graham Frawley walking away from their respective Bray race cars. And it is now all up to, I guess, the starter to determine for us which of these cars is going to go all the way through the final.
Well, I can tell you one thing. There are no team orders in Team Bray.
Red light from Ben Bray. He has given Victor Bray the win. This time, we see Victor Bray 398.9, 306 kilometres per hour. Rusty, our second ever 3-second pass, the second quickest in the Slamfest series.
Yeah, absolutely. First time we've ever seen Victor Bray into the 3-second zone. I tell you what, Ben Bray was driving that thing. It was bucking and carrying on like a bucking bronco, that car. But Victor Bray, you've got to be happy with that. That is a fantastic run in the Sid Chrome Tools 57. And can he do it again in the final round? Of course, now he's got lane choice over Peter Kapiris. Is he going to hang on to that right lane and make Peter race in the lane that he hasn't been in all day long?
We will find out, of course, with Victor Bray taking on Peter Kapiris as we check out the ladder here at round 6 of Slamfest. It is going to be an exciting final. Stick around. We've got lots more action coming your way.
Well, Victor, 399. You've been trying for that number for a long, long time.
398 actually with an 8. So I don't know how fast that went down in Mildura. He went 398 as well, so it'll be interesting to see. No, the car's been going good all day, obviously, and you know, we're in 403, 402, 401, and obviously a 398 is a fantastic achievement for us. So we made some changes to the old girl lady. She's a few years old now, and a lot of people have written her off, but a little bit of lipstick on the old girl, and she's running.
Well, Ben, unlucky red light in the semi-final, but you got to be happy with that 398 from your dad.
Yeah, no, he's been busting on the door of it all day. He just took a little bit of a risk there. We had nothing to lose. We had 2 cars in the semi, so he hotted his up. I just left mine. I got put in the crappy lane because of bad decisions made earlier in the day. But at the end of the day, that's just how it is. Racing's racing. Everyone had to do the same thing. I don't think I've seen anyone go down a left lane, so I knew getting there that it was more about doing a big burnout and doing whatever I had to do to make an entertaining show out of it.
We're headed to the finals. Peter Kapiris in the Chrysler Saratoga for Torco Racing Oils. And of course, Kapiris Brothers, a family affair. This deal takes on another family affair with Victor Bray.
Yeah, Victor Bray laid down that fantastic 398. Not 399 like I said in the interview, but a 398 for Victor Bray. And that's only the second time we've seen a 3-second pass in the Slamfest series. But can he repeat it? He's going to have to if he wants to get around Peter Kapiris in the final.
Well, the only man to run quicker than that 398-1 from Victor Bray is John Zappia, as mentioned, 3.983. There is just 2 1,000ths of a second that we see Zappia quicker than Victor Bray. So, big burnout for Peter Kapiris. He went past the finish line, I think, with that burnout. And Victor Bray, normally he's the man that stands on the loud pedal and goes the longest distance. But not tonight. Here at Benaraby, Marie Bray, Victor's wife, she's looking a little nervous. You don't see that from Marie too often.
No, she's usually very, very cool as far as the cool customers go. Of course, We've seen her race with Victor for many, many years, and of course when Ben's first started racing as well, she was a little bit nervous then. She doesn't worry about it too much these days. She knows that they're both very, very capable drivers. And but I tell you, when it comes down to a final round like this, I think you can't help but nerves creep in a little bit.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you go to any final, I suppose the nerves coming into round one would be fairly minimal compared to the nerves coming into a final. Well, we had a Team Bray win. As we've mentioned, just one round to go up in Townsville. Can they make it a double for Sid Chrome, or will Peter Kapuris upset the apple cart? Pardon the pun, he's a fruiterer out of Victoria. And he'll be doing everything in his power to try and put a stop, of course, to Victor Bray hitting the stripe first.
I think this one is going to be very, very tight on the start line. Both of these guys are really amped up. Let's see who takes it. Whoa, Peter Kapiris way out of shape, a huge red light. And he didn't cross the centre line, but he almost got the trifecta. Victor Bray goes even quicker again. That is the quickest pass we have ever seen in Slamfest, a 3.98 with a 1. Huge run for Victor Bray.
Massive run for Victor Bray, 3.98 with a 1. Takes him to the quickest Slamfest car in 2012. Richard Smith and, of course, Kelly McLennan, Victor's daughter, absolutely over the moon on the start line. Let's go to the replay. Kapiris spun the tyres. The car turned right on him. Meanwhile, Victor, as we saw earlier in the day, just drives away.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there with Peter Kapiris, just a little bit rattled. It sounded like he didn't even get the revs up before he stabbed the throttle. And you can see straight up in tyre smoke. But this is a picture-perfect run for Victor Bray. Right along with him, this is what 190 miles per hour feels like.
Well, the points after round 6, Peter Kapiris goes to the lead on 440. Just 5 points behind is Ben Bray. Then Victor Bray on 395. Gary Phillips on 360, then John Zapier, Russell Pavey, Morris Babietti and Frank Mamone.
Well, Peter, not the way you would have wanted to end this race here in Gladstone.
No, it definitely wasn't, mate. I was just a little bit too pumped. You know, the people here, there's heaps of people on the hill, and I think I just got a bit excited. And I brought on the staging light, and then as soon as I went into pre-stage, I took off. I don't know why I did that, but anyway, that's the way it goes.
We spoke earlier on in the day about focusing and pressure on the driver. Does it come down to just losing concentration at the worst possible time?
Yeah, mate. Like I said to the guys, don't even look at the computer. I can tell you what I did wrong. Like I said, you know, I go into pre-stage. I brought on the stage and then I just let go of the clutch. I don't know why I did that, but I mean, it's just racing. I'm fine. I went to the final, so that's good.
Well, Victor, another 3-second pass to take the win. You got to be smiling at the moment.
Yeah, mate, it was good. The car's behaved itself well all day. We're trying some new stuff with the car, and Benny's been chucking a slightly different tune-ups in the rear end, the clutch and stuff and ratios. So yeah, it seems to be working. It worked here anyway, I suppose. Now we're going to take it to the quarter-mile track to see how it goes there.
Well, that rounds out a fantastic round of racing here at Benaraby Raceway. And, of course, the speed and ET records for 8th Mile reset. On behalf of myself, Jason Bean and Rusty Gregory, we'll see you next time.